In this video I'm going to demonstrate a couple of methods of defeating Carnage Dark, and also a method of allowing your weaker units to defeat Carnage Dark. The first method will require stats from extracts, but will be much simpler. Second method, based on the method used for the All Trophy speedrun, won't require extract stats, but to compensate will require more units and more preparation in battle. Both methods will be done on 0-star enemy strength. Curry won't matter because we'll be knocked into revenge mode, we'll have a 100% crit rate anyway. We'll be using squad attack as the leader of the foot soldier squad, with 20 members, which will also give a 20% stat buff, and at least 225 prisoners. Now, 225 prisoners or more plus 20 members leads to maximum squad attack damage. I'll show the methods in action first, and then I'll explain the abilities in detail. Let's do the simpler method first. Just to note, this map is really tall, 108 DM up here, all the way down here is still 75 DM. Hidden Valley works really well. Now, one of the abilities that will make a massive difference between the two methods, Carnage Dark compares his defensive stat to whichever offensive stat you're using. If your offensive stat is lower than his defensive stat, it will penalise your damage based on how much lower. So first method we're fine. We have 20 million stats, we're going to have 40 million with abilities, 60 million with a buff spell. That's higher than his defensive stats are, we're fine anyway. But the second method will have 10 million, 20 million with abilities, 30 million with a buff spell. 30 million is lower than his defensive stats, so it will penalise our damage, and we'll have half so many stats anyway. So yeah, we have quite a lot to overcome, which is why there'll be such a difference between the methods. Now we need to deploy some fodder units. Doesn't matter too much who they are, though it helps if one of them is, at least one of them's a humanoid, so you can lift your own unit, because lifting the unit will allow us to keep it safe. We're going to use a Prinny to attack with, not because a Prinny is particularly good for this, in fact exploding when thrown is not helpful here, but I'm just going to show this can be done with anyone. Now I have 4 fodder units here. For some units you won't need as many fodder units. Basically, different units gain different amounts of revenge from allies dying. Prinnies don't gain as much as some units, so well, I'll need 4. In turn, he overloads, end turn again, he teleports in, kills us, knocks us into revenge mode. Deploy Christo, because I want 100% accuracy. Also use him as a buffing unit. You could use a separate buffer, but I'm just using Christo for both. Now this will deal a whole load of damage to Carnage Dark. In fact, this would kill him, except one thing. I have Handicap equipped, which is a common ability where if you're attacking, well, it says lower level, it works at the same level, but as long as you're at least as high level as the target, if the target has at least if the target has more than 1 HP remaining, instead of killing them, you leave them at 1 HP, and this will allow someone else to get the kill. See, I did a whole ton of damage, left them at 1 HP. Now, I move Christo. Now this unit has no hope of killing Carnage Dark on his own, but I can lift my strong unit and use a tower attack. Whoever's at the bottom of the tower gets kill credit. Alternatively, you can initiate a team attack, and whoever initiates a team attack gets kill credit. Another option instead of Handicap is the Tag Champion Unique Innocent, which is by default on the chopstick gun. Now we just do that. Goodbye Carnage Dark, gain unique ability slot on the weak unit, and Eclipse power. So that's the easy method. Just sacrifice a bunch of fodder units, use squad attack. Or sacrifice a bunch of units, buff, use squad attack. Now the more in-depth method for doing it with lower stats, I'm going to use Killia for this, because that's who's used That's who's used in the speedrun for this. His stats are a bit higher than they should be. If all you had was the 10 million stats, even if it's Soldier Squad, he'd be 12 million instead of 13 million here. I've got some Eclipse Fire stats on him, but this would work if his stats were a bit lower. So don't worry, you don't need stats quite that high. Likewise, you don't actually need Christo at 20 million stats for this. I guess have a 20 million stat Christo. I'm getting rid of his abilities here because he doesn't use any special abilities for this setup. Yeah, you don't need the 20 million Christo, and your Killia doesn't have to be quite this strong. But that's just what I've got. I need to pass a bill. Now, I need to pass the all-out attack bill, which will allow me to deploy up to 20 units on the next map, because I need to deploy more than 10 units. So here goes the more complicated method. Now, as before, I'm going to need some fodder. Killia, Usalia. Usalia is being used as a buffer here because we also want to Magichange her for her unique ability later. Also need to use some filler EX items to fill the bonus gauge because we're going to be making use of the 9 Tails unique ability after this. So end turn, we buff, he overloads. We Magichange onto the sub-weapon, get lifted, end turn, he teleports over, kills us. He's not supposed to be there. Okay, something's gone wrong with the positioning, but it's fine. But yeah, so the exact positioning of your units and their facing and so on will influence how he moves. So he's not supposed to move there, but whatever, this will work. I have high movement shoes on Killia, so Killia's going to move all the way over here, and then get... he's going to get afternoon teed by a Maid who also has a load of movement, and Killia's going to move back here, because this will give me a massive boost for from assault attack, which increases damage based on how far you move. Give him an Orc as a main Magichange weapon because I want the unique ability from the Orc, and also axes have high average damage and a slight boost to critical damage. I want to Magichange an Imp as well. We already have Usalia Magichange, and you want to Magichange a Ninetales or what's her name? Izuna also works, and I believe is used for the speedrun. And that Ninetales is why we want the bonus gauge filled, because it has a unique ability that boosts stats based on the bonus gauge level. We want a bunch of celestial hosts, because they have the Angel Song unique ability that powers Killia up. And we want a bunch of archers, because they are going to make use of their support attack unique ability to chain attacks off each other, which will build the combo chain really quickly to give us a massive damage bonus. And finally we want Christo deployed for 100% accuracy. Killia is going to use squad attack. And so all those archers are going to chain attacks off each other and get us to at least a 20 combo for a 3 times damage multiplier. And then Killia is going to squad attack for a whole bunch of damage. And that's the lower stat method. Again, I messed up the positioning there somehow. He's supposed to teleport somewhere else. Now, as for the units I've used, so these were just used as fodder. Other than one of them being a humanoid so they can lift, it didn't matter who they were. Well, I say it doesn't matter who they were. Exactly who they are might actually change the Void's AI a bit, so you might have to adjust based on where he decides to move. The Maid used in the second method needs a bunch of shoes. Exogear's not required, I just happen to have that on her. Otherwise she doesn't need anything. Christo had buff spells at +4, was buffed by +50%, except I had no abilities the second time, but the first time I had Medical Insertion, the unique ability of a Professor, which doubles the power of buff spells, and that takes us from 50 to the cap of +100%. Angler Song is unique ability of Celestial Hosts, boosts attack adjustment of adjacent allies by 25%. So this isn't the raw attack stat, this is attack adjustment or attacking power, which is a semi-visible boost to attacking stats, whichever attacking stats you use during damage calcs. Christo is also being used for Tactician. Adjacent allies gain 100% accuracy. Now, a higher stat Christo is nice for this because he lends part of his int towards your attacking stats. Again, it's actually whatever attacking stats you use, it's not always the attack stat. Marking is a common ability of the Gunner subclass. It's mistranslated here. It claims to increase accuracy, it doesn't. Anyone following you in the queue, even if all you're doing is using a buff, even if all you do is use a buff spell, gains 25% extra attack adjustment. So because I was buffing with him and then squad attacking immediately afterwards, this was giving a 25% attack adjustment. That's probably not strictly necessary, but just stack everything you can really. Likewise, Usalia had medical insertion. The archers, all that was really relevant, they had bows. Bows meant they can attack from a long distance to support attack off each other. And you want bows other than guns, because guns force you to attack in a straight line, unless you have an ability to change that. Otherwise, support attack, so every time you attack, well, every time an ally attacks, they'll try to attack after it. Any one attack can only trigger 3 support attacks, and each unit can only support attack 3 times. So 6 archers are used because that's enough to get you to the 20 combo. Imp is used for bullying. Increases damage dealt to, well, it says lower level enemy units. It counts same level as well by 30%. Orc used partly because they turn into an axe, and partly because it increases your stats based on the number of allies within 2 panels. Use Ninetales or Azuno, either works. The higher your bonus gauge level is, the more stats you gain. This is why we used the fillers. Usalia, relevant one here, is increases attack adjustment of herself or whoever she Magichanges onto by 20% per adjacent ally, and we were surrounded by units, so that powered us up by 80%. Now, for the first attacker, so I had no weapon here. Alternatively, I could use an attack-based weapon. I had Hidden Valley, which boosts attack and speed based on the current elevation of the map. At 100 or more, that gives you the cap of plus 100%. So you want, ideally, an attack-based weapon. You could also use an attack and speed-based weapon, i.e. Fist, but that means you have to buff 2 different stats with buff spells as well. So an attack-based weapon can be either not equipping anything, or an attack monster weapon, or an axe. So for humanoids, you'd go with an axe. For monsters, again, attack weapon or just nothing works. Seriously, this is actually quite an underrated ability. It's very map dependent, but does turn out to be pretty useful on some maps. Explosive Body, yeah, did not help here. Again, there's no particular reason to use a Perini. The entire point is, you can do this with anyone. This could have been any unit you wanted. Acceleration Shot. The further away the target is, the more damage you deal to it. This also counts the other members of the squad that you're attacking, so the really far away members are taking huge damage. And Mass Blaster increases damage dealt based on how many targets you hit. So there were 5 targets in that squad, so that was a 50% damage boost. Fly Squatter increases attack adjustment against flying units, Carnage Dark flies. Purgatory increases your critical damage. We're in revenge mode, we auto-crit. And Hidden Valley as mentioned. Handicap is a common ability from, I think, Demon Lord difficulty of Kara World. So yeah, this is used to not kill the boss so that someone else can get the kill. If you want to get the kill, obviously you don't use Handicap. I'll note that we only had 12 ability slots used here, so you don't even need extra ability slots. Killia had a somewhat similar setup. Now he needed shoes because he needed to move far for Assault Attack, which we used instead of Mass Blaster, because that could get to a really high boost. In fact, we hit the cap of plus 200%. Acceleration Shot, same as before. Killia gains stats every time he attacks, but we hit a buff cap anyway. And increases attack adjustment during revenge mode by 100%. That's a pretty significant buff, and is one of the reasons why Killia is good for this. Purgatory, again, more damage on criticals. We used King's Dignity, increases damage dealt to boss units, obviously Carnage Dark is a boss. Power Axe is kind of filler, but might as well get all the damage we can. More damage with axes, we Magichange an Orc to have an axe weapon, and Fly Swatter, we're stronger against flying units. Now we're using 13 slots here, so you do need some extra slots, but you have to run Kara World a few times anyway to well, for trophies and to unlock Carnage Dimension in the first place, so you just do some of those ones with Killia. So yeah, yeah, we had the fodder, attacker, Christo, weak unit, attacker for the second method, Usalia, Magichange units, Maids, Celestial Hosts for Angel Song, Archers, yeah. So okay, thank you for watching, and I hope this helps you kill Carnage Dark. Good luck.